77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts, including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.
The Dr. Sky Experience.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
5 minutes past the hour, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the Dr. Sky Experience. Proudly heard here on Talk Radio 77 WABC. Great information as you tell us through all the emails that we get at drsky@wabcradio.com. And we do appreciate that, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd like to join us in our form of the many different varieties of conversation, we love dialogue on this program. And if you're a new listener, no matter where or you could call from, remember, we talk about the great realms of astronomy, space, aviation, and weather, celebrity guests in the mix, and also stories of American exceptionalism. That number to get in the queue is 1-800-848-9222. That's 1-800-848-9222. And if you'd like to listen to, and we appreciate the emails on those, the popularity of our podcast archive, simply go to wabcradio.com or redappleaudionetworks.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it just doesn't happen by a host doing everything. So we thank Tony and Bill, our helmsmen of this particular show. What do? They navigate the powerhouse signal of 77 WABC across the nation, around the world, and I'm even confident, way out into the universe. Hope your evening is going well and your early morning as we move into your weekend, as we move toward the middle portion of July 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, in this particular hour, I'm sure you will be greatly impressed by the special guest that we have, and also another good friend of ours who will be joining us, who also does some interesting radio in the metaphysical, spiritual content world. We'll be interviewing and talking with him too. But first, ladies and gentlemen, what could be better than speaking with an individual who had a lead role in one of the greatest, in my opinion, sci-fi movies of all, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Dee Wallace, the American Film Institute claims, and they're rightly so, that's the 24th greatest film of all time. Dee Wallace is an internationally known actress, 250 film credits, 6 series, over 400 commercials, best known for her role as the mother in Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial. She has appeared on every major network and talk show, including Oprah, The Today Show. Miss Wallace earned her teaching credentials from the University of Kansas and has worked as a teacher in public schools and on her own dance and acting studios. Miss Wallace expanded her love of teaching and the principles she found empowering for children into daily sessions, a radio show, and 5 books. And her book and her work is based on the principles of accepting responsibility and loving ourselves early in life to create the life we desire. With that, a hearty welcome to actress Dee Wallace. Dee, good morning and good evening to you on the West Coast. How are you?
I am fabulous, and what a great introduction. Boy, you summed me up in my whole life.
Well, Dee, let me tell you, I'm going to just simply say as a humble host, thank you, because I'm sure throughout this hour, there'll be many people that not only want to talk about your great movie career. It's summed up here, ladies and gentlemen, leading lady and scream queen, best-selling author, fan favorite film, mom, and new grandmother. Congratulations. Speaks out on conscious and self-creation and achieving individual success and love in 2025. Dee, what could be more powerful than love, right?
Nothing.
Yes.
Absolutely nothing.
But I hope you don't mind by going back in time here just to talk briefly, and I don't ask you this, but I ask the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, where were you on June 11th, 1982? We go back in time and space because you and the rest of the great cast, Steven Spielberg's epic E.T. the Extraterrestrial. And Dee, I'm not just saying that because I love the movie. I mean, I've seen it so many times, watched, and I have in my collection, probably like many people out there, every iteration of every 20, 40-year-old, 40 years of celebration, everything on 4K, HK, whatever the heck they do. It's just outstanding. So talk a little bit about that before we get into the real heart and core of this, about the things you're doing, how to expand our minds and our bodies in consciousness and love Talk a little bit about that experience with the movie. I mean, to me, it's just so amazing.
Well, thank you. And I don't think it was by any mistake that the universe brought that movie to me. I end up really, in my healing work, teaching the principles of that movie. And, you know, creation is pretty simple. You keep your heart open, you stay in love, you get back home.
Yes.
And we experienced that during the movie. I remember going to the studio behind locked doors and reading the script because it was very secretive. And I called my agent and I said, you know, I don't think this is probably going to do a lot for my career, but I think it's going to do a lot for the world. Wow. And I want to be a part of it.
Well, Dee, that's amazing. In case people are just tuning in, Dee Wallace, actress, and so much more, ladies and gentlemen, to share with you. Questions and comments, as we love. I always say this to the audience, Dee. I know you know it very well. We like to have dialogue because there's other kinds of communication. You know, we have confrontation, we have debate, we have all that. But no, here we do the happy thing and try to get everybody on. So the number is 1-800-848-9222. And we'll get into not only the career that Dee Wallace has experienced here. And just in case folks don't know this, Dee, this is amazing. How could they not know? You were obviously Mary Taylor, the single mom in E.T. the Extraterrestrial, as we're proud to talk about. But wow, the wildest St. Bernard ever, Cujo. You were Donna Trenton. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that definitely was the hardest thing I have ever done in my life, that movie. And I'm very, very, very proud of the work that I did in that. And most people don't know that there were 13 dogs that played Cujo.
Wow.
There was a stuntman in a dog suit, but he really didn't. He rammed his head into the car because, of course, you can't ask a dog to do that.
Sure.
He did the big attack scene with me, and the real dog did it with the stunt woman. But the actual dogs did almost all the work, impeccably trained by Carl Miller, and they were all trained to go after toys. So they were wagging their tails all the time because it was a big joke to them, and we had to tie their tails down with fish wire because they were wagging them all the time. Amazing. So I just love telling that story because people go, oh, what? Really?
Yes. And the St. Bernard, I mean, you know, people love St. Bernards, and they love all animals. I mean, my partner, Diana, who's probably listening, we have a beautiful little Bichon Maltese, and her name's Aurora. But on the larger side, boy, those St. Bernards, wow. And if I'm correct, I know this is way off topic, but I understand a lot of the heavier dogs, the larger dogs, they do get arthritis as they get older, a lot more than maybe some other dogs. That's what I understood. But then again, that's the story of Cujo. And the one, before we get into the spirituality side here, the movie that really disturbed me, The Hills Have Eyes, where you're Lynn Wood. That is the most bizarre movie. And if you know, I mean, you probably know the actor. I mean, the gentleman there who played that lead role in there as the bad guy, so to speak. That guy still scares me.
Michael Berryman, yes.
When I look at him today, I go, wow, what a role he played. Kind of like a Freddy Krueger on steroids.
Yes, and you know, he is the gentlest, kindest, very incredibly intellectual man. We've shared a lot of experiences together, and but that was a tough movie. That was my first movie after a religious film. Which kind of sums up my whole career, you know. I spend half my time doing horror films and the other half healing people from fear. And somehow it works really well for me.
You're doing, I'm sure, a great job on this. And that's, again, the emphasis of the hour. I mean, many people may want to call in at 1-800-848-9222. And, of course, they'll be enamored, I'm sure, by many questions about the movie roles. But let's transition to something that I think is so important. Your role as you are today, very, very active. The website, so I give it out hopefully correctly, iamdeewallace.com, if that's correct.
Yes, that's correct.
And your podcast, this is interesting. Conscious Creation Radio Show. Please forgive me if I just stumbled that. Give us more on that. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I just passed, I think, my 900th show. Mm-hmm. I am a clairaudient channel. I hear messages. And my show, anybody can call in and talk about anything, ask any question of the channel. It's quite incredible, the very definite guidance. It's, it's not a namby-pamby, oh, well, maybe this could be going on. It's really very definitive answers that the channel brings in.
Amazing.
And I love this work. I feel like I'm giving back. I feel like I've been healed in many, many ways by teaching this work, because, when you teach, you learn, always, in any classroom. And you started out with the power of love. That's a lot of my teaching. I know from my channel, it says that love is the most powerful tool we have to create with.
Wow.
But we keep thinking of it as a little namby-pamby, oh, isn't it nice, he loves me kind of thing,
Yes. Well, Dee, I think I'll be learning something about this, because always humble here and honest. Maybe I need to learn, like many people. They have to tell their own story and just come to the table to, if they want to share their experiences during this hour. It's a short hour. But the question becomes this. When you talk about something called consciousness, we've had many people on here on this archive. Dr. Edgar Mitchell, you may know the name from Apollo 14. Very much involved in Noetic Institute, laughed at in many ways by his astronauts on the way to the moon and back, because he had these out-of-body experiences into a different realm. So simply, Dee Wallace, describe to us the most complicated thing that I have no idea what it means. To you, what does consciousness mean as we move on to talk about the love and the spirituality side?
To me, consciousness is awareness of energy. And we've learned in 5th grade, everybody, that everything is energy. Everything.
Correct.
So our ideas, our feelings, our perceptions, they too are energy. Energy is neutral. There is no positive or negative energy. It's neutral. It becomes positive and negative through our direction and our focus of our energy.
Yes.
So really, creating your life is being aware of what you want and focusing that with love.
Wow. Powerful stuff. I'm sure we can all learn something from this, not just the hour.
Powerful and easy.
Yeah. Well, then you make it sound simple, because many people, look, I can't, speak for anybody else other than myself. We all have these positives and negatives as we move through life. But what's really interesting when we talk about this particular subject, as you know, and not to be the scientist only here on the radio here, and to particular Dr. Sky experience, but the law of thermodynamics. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, but moves to a different realm. So as you're talking about this, the positivity of that is that energy, obviously, in my opinion, goes on forever. What say you? Doesn't that make sense?
Absolutely. You never get rid of energy. You just change the form due to your focus and your perceptions, which come from your belief systems. And most people don't understand that your brain is locked in by the time you're 8 years old into your belief systems. So whatever you are verbally taught or modeled in front of you between conception and 8, that is what your brain says, this is the way the world is.
Yes.
And the danger there is that most of those things that we're taught were somebody else's belief system. I remember my grandmother, whom I was exceptionally close to. saying they're the rich people. We are the good people because we were very poor. And that also is a prominent religious teaching in a lot of religions. And yet in the good book, it says these miracles and more will you do also. And you can't do miracles in physical form if you define yourself as not powerful and lowly.
Very well said. No, very well said.
So we're in the process right now of really waking up. And you're seeing that in our world, in our politics, in our discussions. People are waking up to what do they really want. Because if you don't know what you want, you can't create it. What happens is there's a thing that an energy field around the universe called the ionosphere. And whenever you have a thought or a feeling, you shoot out. See. And the universe's job is not to measure it in any way or judge it. Its job is to match it. So if you have the belief, for example, I'm not supposed to be successful in my life, and you keep sending that out to the universe will do its best to hold success away from you.
Legendary actress Dee Wallace joins us. E.T., the extraterrestrial fame, of course, and so many other movies, film and stage. She's joining us for this hour here on the Dr. Sky Experience. Your questions in the form of dialogue and conversation, 1-800-848-9222. Dee, I'd like to bring in a good friend of mine, Richard Dugan, who does his own radio programs. I've known him for so many years, called Tell Me Your Story, more metaphysical and spiritual content. Good morning, Richard. I hope you're with us, and I'd like you to say hi, of course, to our guest, Dee Wallace. And let's talk, Dee, about your book, and I think this is fascinating, Bright Light, Spiritual Lessons from a Life in Acting. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning. Good morning, Dee, as well. It's a pleasure
Richard.
to hear you.
How are you?
I am doing fantastic.
Good.
I have been studying all of what you've been talking about since I was 17. I'm now 65. You do the math. And it is just fascinating. I wanted to ask you about something that that crossed my mind as I was reading through some of the materials in regards to the work that you do, as you've been doing for so many years. There's so many different concepts, and I'll try to be very brief here. There's the law of attraction, and one of my guests once said that, well, they left something out, but they didn't do it on purpose, and that was that just because you want it, that doesn't mean the universe will give it to you because it may not be for your purpose. Then you have another group of people that believe in prophecy and these kinds of things and destiny. And so it's kind of locked into a script. Yeah. So I'm wondering how do you share with people to balance these concepts or maybe get rid of some of them in order to, and I loved what you said about you've got to know what you want in order to create it, how you get to that space, especially when we've all been taught, I was born and raised Catholic, to be a victim. It's either God that did it or the devil did it. I had nothing to do with it.
Okay, well, but Richard,
Please.
then just stop and ask yourself, is that belief going to get me what I want?
Mm-hmm.
Well, is it?
Exactly.
No.
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
Okay, then you are here, we are all here to practice free will. That's why we're in physical form, to practice free will and learn self-creation. It's a true statement, is it not? No one can think a thought for you, feel a feeling for you, or hold a belief for you that you don't want. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. That makes us the God of us on this plane.
Wow, powerful stuff.
And so for people who start with me and they'll say, well, I'm waiting for the guides to tell me, or I'm waiting for the angels to tell me, or God to tell me, I say to them, then you're going to be waiting a very long time.
Hey, that sounds great. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up here. Yes,
they're waiting to hear what you want. And,
well, let me say this.
We're taught from the time we can understand anything, you can't have everything you want. Don't ask for everything you want. If you ask for everything you want, you're a selfish little, Right. We're all taught that. And according to the information from my channel, we choose the families that we are born into, usually to learn what we do not want.
Yeah, this is powerful stuff.
So that,
ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to take
moments like this, we can say what we do want.
All said, all well said here. We're almost at the bottom of the hour in radio, as many people know across the world, and of course the hard break at the bottom of the hour. But Richard, stay with us. We're going to have more conversation. And Dee, this is amazing to have you here talking about this. But one quick question. We only got about 3 minutes before the hard break here, but I know you're a pro and you can do it. How does spirituality, religion, and brain science occur with each other around creating your whole life? I mean, trying to put all this into a synthesis, I think, is kind of an important question in the time allotted. Let's see how you can do that.
They're all saying the same thing. In the good book, it says, dwell only on these things, peace, love, joy, which is focus on these things. And you create more of them. Brain science says whatever you focus on, you create more of.
Yes.
The good book says, as you believe, it is delivered to you. Well, your beliefs create what you focus on, and according to brain science, whatever you focus on, you create.
Well, Dee, this is so interesting as we talk about this. Obviously, the world is at a very, I need not remind people out there, it could be considered by many a very tumultuous place right now. So more and more of us, it's hard. It's hard for so many people. Maybe there's some people out there listening and saying, well, I've tried this and I don't know, blah, blah, blah. No. I mean, the whole concept here is being able to understand yourself, and that's what we're talking about here, in a world that has become very difficult for many people to survive. Look at all the sadness out there, T.
And I have some really positive when we come back.
No, I understand. So it's interesting. I just want to remind everybody, our special guest for this hour, and we're proud to call her a friend here on the Dr. Sky Experience, legendary actress Dee Wallace. So many different movies, of course. She played the single mom, Mary Taylor, in the epic movie. This is incredible. Spielberg's great movie that many people got to see first. Well, if you're old enough to remember, folks, back on June 11th, 1982. I have a little bit of a, I don't know what you call it, like a little facsimile of E.T. the Extraterrestrial. And the story maybe you'll share with us about how they actually created the E.T. Extraterrestrial, because we talk so much on this particular archive about what? The whole concept, Mary, about, I'm calling you Mary.
That's okay.
I'm in movie role here, sorry. But no, about the whole story of the UFO subject right now. I mean, the movie itself talks about something that Steven Spielberg, as you know, from his own childhood experiences where he got this concept. But isn't that amazing, Dee, that we're still never told the truth about what's really going on with this whole UFO and UAP story? We got about a minute. You have the floor.
Well, I can tell you that most of the movies get it wrong, that Stephen got it right, that they are here to guide us. They are here to enhance us, not to demonize us. And basically, they're here as friends that cannot intervene with our free will.
Well, all dimensional things, ladies and gentlemen, but more when we come back here on the Dr. Sky Experience, talking about the great realms of astronomy, space, aviation, and weather, and doing justice to celebrity guests this morning with not only Dee Wallace, but also Richard Dugan, Tell Me Your Story host, metaphysical, spiritual content, and so much more. 1-800-848-9222. And we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with more great information as we continue to open our minds on the mysteries of the universe. We'll be right back.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 31 minutes after the hour, we continue to move through what we call time and space. And if you think about space-time, ladies and gentlemen, that would be a whole maybe 14-hour show. But simply, gravity is the warpage of space-time as we talk with special guests, and who better to talk about spiritual healing and what consciousness is, and the books that she writes and the things she does, is legendary actress Dee Wallace. Also joining us on the line is a good friend of ours, Richard Dugan, of a radio program and podcast called Tell Me Your Story, metaphysical, spiritual content in this rather disturbing time we live in, and how ways that we can literally align ourselves with the universe. Dee, it's always a privilege to speak with you, and I want to thank Harlan, the publicist, for helping set this up. We've been working with Harlan for years.
He's wonderful.
He's excellent. And also, just to remind everybody, your website, IamDeeWallace.com. Dee Wallace's podcast, of course, ladies and gentlemen, Conscious Creation radio show. So give us an example of some of the people that you've had on there so people, of course, can gravitate to that and listen in great detail to the things you offer.
Well, I don't have guests on my show.
Okay.
My show is devoted to anyone who wants to call in and get specific guidance and advice about where they're blocked in their life, when it started, who it started with. And again, the channel always takes me. It's interesting. We usually go back to either age 3 or age 7, when most people really get embedded in the beliefs that are blocking them. And I can tell everyone, if you keep hitting a lack of money, if you can't have a successful relationship, if you keep being badgered with health issues, go back and write down everything you were verbally taught or that was modeled in front of you. And you will find the beliefs that are keeping you from doing what you want as an adult.
Yes. Good advice.
It's really miraculous when you do it.
That's amazing. So talk about this. This is an interesting one that I'm always pondered. I mean, I have my own view, but more importantly, the listeners and yourself, the question would be this. What does it mean to have a love affair with the universe? I mean, I love it from the perspective of looking at the night sky and doing all the wonderful things that you can do in science. But from your side of the equation, let's hear from Dee Wallace.
Well, you know, the way I explain it to people is whatever you want, love it more. You know, people call me, and when I go out and speak, it's really interesting. Someone whom I've never met will come up on stage, and I'll say, okay, what do you want? I don't want to have to worry about money. Good, what do you want? Well, I don't have to be so stressed about money. Good, what do you want? This can go on for 20 minutes until they get so pissed off at me, they go, I want more money.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, that's the first time you told me and the universe what you wanted.
Oh, yeah, they said it. But isn't that the problem?
Saying what we don't want by explaining, saying what we do want by explaining what we don't want. We're taught that. And so, for example, growing up, we were quite poor. My dad was an alcoholic, and I witnessed my mother taking care of him and all the kids. We lived with my grandparents. My grandfather had been a very big CPA in Kansas, but by the time I came along, he had had 2 strokes, and all I witnessed was my grandmother taking care of him. My other grandfather had Parkinson's. All I witnessed was that grandmother. So my childhood brain said, women take care of men. That's the way it is.
Wow, interesting.
It took me 4 marriages to realize that I was picking men that I had to take care of so I could fulfill that belief.
Dee, this is interesting.
They weren't good men.
Yeah.
They were all good men that I had to take care of.
Dee, you're lighting up the phone lines here as we would expect
Good.
here.
I love to talk to people. Bring them on.
Let's say good morning to Tony in Clifton. You're on with legendary actress Dee Wallace and healer. Good morning, Tony. How are you?
Hi, Tony.
Hi. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for taking my call. You know, Dee Wallace, it's so exciting to talk to you because all through the years that I watched your movies, and now hearing you talk about being a channel, you know, it really makes sense because no one could ever leave the movie theater. You drew us in, you took us on a journey, and really we came out being different. No matter what we saw in that movie, we were not the same. I do want to say that you always were a bit of a muse. You really wanted to bring out something in us, and often it did come out. It was so surreal. It really brought us in. And when I listen to you talking about being a channel, I feel that you are actually taking us on those journeys, Cujo, and especially that one. There's things that we have to face and go through, and you did that with us. I do want you to just comment on your love. You say something which I think is awesome, that you have to love yourself. Talk about that.
Tony, stay on the line, and Dee, of course, these are the great callers that we get here on this particular archive.
I love that.
Stay with us. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Dee.
So tell us about the love comment. You said you have to really love yourself. You know,
yes. Well, look, I'll make it real simple, and that's why I wrote the book Born, is so that everybody would have a complete formula for creation, and it's really simple to understand. Guys, who do we want to give everything to? The people we love. Mm-hmm. And yet we are taught not to put ourselves on that list. The more, it's kind of like the airplane. Put your own mask on first. Because if you don't love yourself, if you don't accept yourself, if you don't respect yourself, how can you give more to the people you love and the people in your life?
Powerful stuff, Tony. This is amazing.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. And it comes out in the movies. It really does, because especially in E.T. and Cujo, your sort of caring for others was really secondary to your own survival instincts. And yet, you know, we were seeing you trying to care for others. I loved it. I love what you do. I'm looking forward to reading your books, and thank you for taking my call, Dee Wallace.
Tony, you just made my year, sweetheart, because you cannot give an actor a greater compliment than you were real and you touched me. So thank you.
That's beautiful. Tony, I appreciate you also for joining us on the Dr. Sky Experience. You always enliven the conversation here, as we like to call it, dialogue, because there's so many other types of conversation. There's debate, diatribe, and discourse, and we certainly don't really want that here, at least at this particular format. This is fascinating. You know, going back to your movie and switching gears here, that is E.T. the Extraterrestrial, I took a look at pictures of what Henry Thomas looks like, the 10-year-old boy as Elliot. So I must be getting old, because he's like 57 years of age. And do you keep in touch with so many? Of course, you probably do, but in that particular case with Henry,
I do a lot of conventions together and personal appearances, especially a couple of years ago when it was the 40th anniversary. We all went back last summer and did Drew's show and had a reunion for the 40th anniversary. So we do keep in touch somewhat more with the boys than I do with Drew, just because we travel together a lot.
Yeah. Of all the things in that movie, I'm seriously, give us an example of the most proud moment in that movie for you. I mean, obviously you're the single mom in that starring role, but just tell us briefly, what's the most impacting thing about E.T. the Extraterrestrial that put you into movie and film history about that?
You know, there's something about that film that transcends blocks in people. And it reminds us of the truth of the power of love. I had a mother come up to my table and said, "Miss Wallace, you're a part of a miracle in my life," and proceeded to tell me about her 10-year-old autistic son. She had never, here come the tears, sorry.
It's okay. You go right ahead. Yes.
Never heard him speak in 10 years. And she took him to see the re-release of E.T. And on the way home, he said every line in the movie that E.T. said.
That's a beautiful story.
Can you imagine? I mean, that's a miracle to
Absolutely,
me.
Dee.
And that a young man came up one time and said, you know, I was like in the 3rd or 4th grade and my parents got divorced and I'm from a real small town in the South. And all my friends, even my best friend, they weren't allowed to talk to me because my parents got divorced. And that summer, E.T. came out and you were a single mom. And all of a sudden, it was okay to include me again.
Wow.
I mean, we just don't realize, and I'm talking about even the horror films. If you Google the positive effects of horror films, you will be shocked. They're great for your brain, great for your nervous system. They teach young children how to cope with fear. You know, what we do, I used to tell my acting students, you can heal more people in one day than a doctor can in a lifetime.
I believe you. I certainly believe that statement.
I mean, look at movies like Forrest Gump, you know, and The Wizard of Oz, and Peter Pan. And, you know, we hear it everywhere. We've heard it for eons and lifetimes.
Yes.
Everybody.
More with Dee Wallace, ladies and gentlemen, as we go to our last break of hour number 1. Stay tuned for hour number 2. Always great guest. More with legendary actress Dee Wallace. Richard Dugan will jump in with him. More commentary, ladies and gentlemen, and the form of dialogue. You're welcome to give us a call. We encourage it at 1-800-848-9222.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I'll be right here, and you could be happy here. I could take care of you. I wouldn't let anybody hurt you. We could grow up together. Quotes from Henry and Gertie in the great film that we're talking about with legendary actress Dee Wallace as we continue here at 47 minutes after the hour. Dee, I want to see if Richard's still with us. Richard, are you still alive with us on the air? I just wanted to make sure.
I'm still here, yes.
You know, I know you had a couple of quick comments because we're almost rocketing to the top of the hour, but Go ahead. You're on with Dee Wallace, of course, and I know you had some questions or comments.
Well, I'll keep this one brief, and that is, Dee, I have gone to a number of intuitives and psychics and whatever names you want to use, but I would go to them not to get answers, but to get confirmation of what I already knew. So my question is, how important is our own intuition? And for those who haven't used their intuition, how do you get them to start doing that?
Well, we've all done it, first of all. We've all had a thought one day, oh, I should call so-and-so. And the next day they call you. That's channeling.
Mm-hmm.
So we've all had the experience of the intuition and it coming back into our lives. Really, Richard, it's like anything else. I'm a dancer. I couldn't do a pirouette the first class I took. But after studying for 5 years, I could do 5. So I work with a pendulum or muscle testing, which both I learned from top doctors, by the way. And you have to practice. But let's go back to the basics. You have to know that you want to channel. You have to know that you want to hear clearly your guidance, your intuition, and to follow it. Right?
Let me follow up with one final thing very briefly.
Okay.
All right. It's great to listen, to hear the still small voice. We've been promoting during the Decade of Perfect Vision and the Year of Perfect Vision, 2020 and the 2020s, that people go within to listen to that still small voice. That's great. But if you don't follow the promptings, what's the point?
Absolutely.
Wow. Richard, you say it so well.
You have to live it. You have to live it. And that is the greatest challenge that I see with people coming into my work is, I've studied this stuff for 40 years. And I want to say to them, why do you need me? If you've studied it and you've gotten it and you know it and you're living it, then you know it.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate your contribution here. But, Dee, before the clock runs out, I just wanted to have you explain to the audience you're involved currently in so many other new projects in the media. If you'd be kind enough to describe some of the things that you're involved in that people can follow and certainly watch in the video and film world.
Well, I have no belief that older actors, especially female actors, can't work in the business. So I have 5 films coming out.
Wow.
And I just signed on for 2 more.
That's amazing. Any sneak peek on what they are, or are you not able to tell us? Just curious.
Well, yeah, really, I'm not supposed to, but I can tell you that there's 3 relationship lighter movies, and then the rest of them are either suspense or horror suspense. One of them is a lovely little Christmas film, very unique little film. Another one I did with Bruce Davison and Ed Begley Jr., wonderful little relationship family film. And the one I just finished, I'm really excited about. And it's, energetically, it's another Cujo. I didn't even know if I could do it.
Another St. Bernard, wow.
No.
No?
It's a crazy guy who breaks into my house, there's a wonderful B story between my daughter and I. And I love the script. I loved working with the director. I just have really high hopes for that film. So I'm just happy with everything I'm doing, my healing work. I love doing my show every Sunday morning. I've got a great webinar coming up on the vagus nerve, which is really important in spirituality, as you probably know, Richard, because the vagus nerve takes all your thoughts and your belief systems into the first universe, which is your body.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is interesting, Dee, and Richard, I know Richard knows this, but the Dr. Sky brand does so much in Sedona, where obviously we do the astronomical part of showing the wonders of the sky, but there's so much of the spirituality conferences. Have you, or are you going to be speaking anytime there in Arizona for our Arizona friends or people across the country that may want to?
I do not have any bookings to do that yet. I have spoken in Sedona 4 or 5 times.
Amazing.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place. I love Sedona.
Oh, absolutely. From the vortexes to the mountains, it's just incredible. And not that far away from downtown Phoenix. So for all of you listening around the nation, around the world, and particularly those that may want to journey to the beauty of the Red Rocks of Sedona, it's always 24 hours a day. Every calendar month has something special. And you're right, it is a beautiful spiritual place. I want to remind the listeners, your website, imdwallace.com, and the Dee Wallace podcast, the Conscious Creation radio show, done again, every Sunday, you're telling me? Is that so we can get that?
Every Sunday at 9 Pacific time. And if you go to my website, it's on the homepage how to call in and contact.
It's interesting.
On the show.
So let's talk a little bit more as the clock goes to the top of the hour here. This is fascinating that you're talking about here. You now, and congratulations to you. You're a new grandmother. I mean, this is something fantastic. Talk about that. How beautiful.
He will be 2 years old in August, coming up. And he is, my husband of 18 years that I did the Howling in Cujo with, Christopher Stone. They named him Stone Christopher in honor of him, which I really, really love that.
What a beautiful story.
And, that I created my daughter the same way I'm teaching you all tonight. 6 specialists said I would never have a baby. And I said, thanks for sharing. Going to create her anyway. And it took me 6 years and some fascinating stories about how I got there. But I got her. Everybody laughed at me when I said, I'm going to stop teaching and I'm going to go to New York and be an actor. You don't know anybody. Nobody knows you. Are you crazy? In less than 7 years, I starred in E.T. And why I'm telling you all this is people will try to limit you to keep you safe, oftentimes because they love you. Don't listen.
Well, that's interesting.
Follow your voice.
It's amazing. So, Dee, before the clock runs out, I got to ask you this. The selection process to be that role that you played, of course, for all time in E.T. I mean, were there 10, 20 different people that were, role-playing for that or auditioning? Just tell us a little bit about that. Because it happened for you.
The only story I know is that Stephen saw me in The Howling. He knew what he wanted for Mary, and I had gone in and read for used cars. But Stephen works very, very far ahead. He's working years ahead, usually. And so when E.T. came, they just called and offered it to me because I had the vulnerability that he wanted Mary to have.
Amazing. This is something I read. I don't believe everything I read, nor should anybody on the internet, but tell me if you know something about this, Dee. Apparently, Steven Spielberg is working on a movie that has a lot to do with extraterrestrials, but not the way we're understanding a remake, because I think your commentary was let's make sure we don't have a remake of a classic like that. But do you know anything about that as far as we end the show here in a moment?
I've heard rumors, and that's all. I wish and if I did, I'd give you a tidbit, but
I appreciate
I really don't know.
Well, here we go. We're going to try to get one more caller in here on the Dr. Sci Experience. We say good morning to Pam in New Jersey. You're on with legendary actrors Dee Wallace. You got the floor.
Good morning. Oh, this is a treat. I always thought you were so genuine, and I loved you. My special favorite is The Howling. And
Thank you.
You just got into the role and disappeared into it. You weren't, you were the part. I just wondered, sometimes in life you try to control your life, but when you have a significant other, and you being a caregiver, as you say, sometimes there are outside forces, other significant members of families that have control over your significant partner and kind of make your life a roller coaster trying to handle it.
Okay, wait, stop.
Yeah.
They may be controlling your partner. They have no control over you unless you give them that right.
Pam, we're going to have to run here, and I hate to cut you short. This is amazing. The clock rules here.
Into my show, we'll talk.
There you go. Pam, thank you. In an abbreviated commentary. More when we come back on the Dr. Sky Experience, but thank you so much, legendary actress Dee Wallace. We'll stay in touch, and blessings to you. Thank you for being with us.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.